It's 6:56.
It's 2 minutes fast. That's all.
Oh, yeah.
How's Eddie doing?
Anybody watch the eclipse today?
Sure did.
Yeah. Oh, it got cold, didn't it, fast?
Yeah.
Next one's 27 years from now.
I think I'm probably going to miss
Well, I
that.
guess good when I watched it one day.
So 93 and 89 were all jammed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, my
People
buddy
trying to
Bobby
go west.
went over to Woodstock, Vermont to watch it, which was 100% over there. I don't know, he just went for a ride with his wife. And he said that was a mistake, because coming back on 89, he said he was in bumper to bumper all the way back.
Yeah.
All the Flatlanders.
So is it customary for the vice president, the vice chair to start the meeting?
1 minute.
I didn't print the
Who
agenda.
else is, put it on the phone.
We'll see if the copy machine works. So last report was questionable. Who else is on the board?
Marshall.
Marshall.
And Gus.
Oh, Gus. Gus isn't going to be here?
He should be here, but he isn't.
Oh.
The two of them, I would say, almost normally come a minute or two late.
Yeah, because Gus was just elected this last.
Okay, to leave my hat on there, Mr. Photographer?
Sure.
You don't want to
I'm
see
all set.
19 Staples, do you?
Oh, right there on my phone.
I'll zoom in.
I have one, thank you.
The program.
Okay. All right, it's 7 o'clock, Verizon time. Welcome to the planning board meeting, April 8th, 2024. Let's do a call to order and a roll call. Ed Ingles, I'm vice chairman. Terry McMenemy. Here. Terry Ward.
Here.
Rich Sacker.
Here?
And Marshall Goldberg.
Here.
Just in time. Rick Surratt,
Present?
interested in being an alternate, or you are an alternate?
Yes.
Would you be interested in being on the board?
Of course.
Can we vote on that?
I'll nominate Rick.
I will second that.
And we vote as a board to
May regret it.
include him as a member, correct?
Yeah, well, I'm confused. Is that a motion to make him a member?
Yes.
Okay. For 2 years? There's a 2-year slot open, right?
Terry's motion.
Is that what it is, 2 years?
When you fill a vacancy, it's only until the next election.
Next election.
1 year.
Yeah, so it'll be until town meeting elections 2025.
At that point, there'll be 3 on the ballot.
Right.
Terry, can
Yes,
you
sir.
rephrase the motion to make it till the next election, please?
Yes, I would like to nominate Rick for a 1-year membership until the next election for the planning board.
I will second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Congratulations, Rick.
Wow.
We don't have a seat for you up here, but we know where you are.
So we should swear you in as a member.
Yes.
Now, Clark happens to be.
And she just happens to be.
She just happens to be
Marshall is
here.
sworn in, right?
I've been sworn in.
Yes.
Yes, Marshall has. And Gus too.
And Gus.
Oh, certainly. So I will just read if you would just.
Miss Jan,
Okay.
So-
Raise your right hand, please. Okay, I, Rick Surratt,
I, Rick Surratt,
do solemnly and sincerely swear
do solemnly and sincerely swear
and affirm that I will bear faith and true allegiance
and affirm that I will bear faith and true allegiance
to the United States of
to
America
the United States of America
and the state of New
and
Hampshire,
the state of New Hampshire,
and will support the Constitution thereof.
and will support the Constitution thereof.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I, Rick Surratt,
I, Rick Surratt,
do solemnly and sincerely swear and affirm
do solemnly sincerely swear and affirm
that I will faithfully and impartially discharge
that I will faithfully and impartially discharge
and perform all the duties
and perform all the duties
incumbent upon me as planning board member
incumbent upon me as planning board member
for a term of 1 year,
for a term of 1 year,
according to the best of my abilities,
according to the best of my abilities,
agreeably to the rules and regulations
agreeably to the rules and regulations
of this Constitution
of this Constitution
and the laws of New Hampshire.
and the laws of New Hampshire.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I just will need you to sign here as the appointee, and today's date is the 8th. Should have brought it.
Sorry.
Say your name.
That's a nice order.
You do sorry.
That's right, I will do election.
They were without camp road. Well, I saw where, pretty far from Sacramonte's house.
Rick?
Yesterday. They worked out from 8 to 4.
Thank you.
Where Brookfield is?
For 4 weeks.
Yeah, Sacramonte's house. At the end of the driveway, branch it, like, shorted it out, so close the fuse out there on Camp Road.
And my laptop kept kicking out, it was awful.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Mr. Vice Chair, I'd also like to nominate Mr. Surratt for the chair position for the term of 1 year.
Okay, that's good. That's great. Next thing on our agenda. Do I have a second?
I second it.
Any other nominations for chair?
Would anyone like to be nominated for chair?
Lots of silence. All those in favor of Rick Surratt for chairman? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations.
You have my seat.
Excellent.
It's really hot.
All right.
there, Rick.
Minutes.
You gonna do them?
I'll do minutes.
Okay, great. So thank you for nominating me and electing me for chair for 1 year, for the rest of my term. And just take this opportunity over the next 11 months to get a handle on being the chair, many people in this room, so we can move this around if we need to do that or want to do that. Okay, so roll call, reorganization, announcements, correspondence, mail.
Let's, Karen's here to certify the documents that were approved at town meeting and our subdivision regs. If we get that done, she's free to go.
Okay.
All right, so if we jumped and do those two, so you got, Ed, you brought 2 documents, right?
I think
You brought the zoning changes that we approved at town meeting.
I think I just have 1 copy.
That's fine.
Yeah. So we have subdivision regs and the zoning ordinance. The only things that have changed, which are not highlighted in here, but the only things that have changed is the warrant article language has replaced the former language that refers to different acreage.
I saw that in the zoning you sent out on the email.
Yes,
This
should be
is
that
what's
document.
on the emails. So we just need all of us, at least 4 of us to sign it, I guess.
Yeah, the people that were here then, right?
Yeah, so Rick doesn't sign it, and Marshall doesn't sign it, correct?
Well, he was an alternate. I think he was,
I was an alternate, I don't know.
I would think he
Okay.
was.
And I was an
Oh,
alternate
you were
as well.
All right, well, I guess everybody.
All right.
Yeah, but they didn't, only alternates who were seated and voted would sign.
That would be Marshall.
Yeah, I was
seated.
I wasn't seated.
I was never seated.
But I was seated.
Yeah, this is for the January meeting, was the January hearing was the subdivision regs.
I guess so.
That same pen?
Yeah.
Who's that?
That was not the January meeting, that was at the public hearing.
This one is actually.
I'm sorry, that was-
So
though, right? I wasn't at the January meeting, I was at the hearing now.
No, the vote to put it on the warrant is what you're talking about, right? That's, who should sign it? Yeah. Is that right, Craig?
What, the subdivision? The subdivision regs were approved at the hearing, the January 22nd hearing.
Yeah.
And that was the approval. There's nothing to do with the town
What's
meeting.
that?
I'm sorry, I passed it over.
Yeah, so the March 12th date is incorrect, it should be crossed out.
We'll get to sign this one.
Only the planning board approves subdivision
We'll
regs.
go through them both.
Excuse me.
So this one should be the January date, you're saying?
Yeah, it's either the 20th or 22nd. 22nd, I think it was.
I think it was the 22nd.
Can we just initial it and change it?
Sure,
It's the 22nd.
yeah,
Oh, that's on here, actually, I just crossed out the March one.
yeah. Yeah, because it never went to town meeting for a vote.
Yeah, that one's buried in there somehow, Rich. There's nothing at the end there, it's a map.
Do we have an E in there yet?
And what?
E? We have to put E back in. What are you talking? E is the,
It's not in there.
we should put it in, right? What we're talking about, E?
We can redo that at the next meeting, maybe?
Yeah, the lawyer said it was just a, she looked at the warrant article, she looked at our documents, said it was just a typo not to have it in there. We removed the non-permitted, if I remember correctly.
Right.
So we had to change E to just have the permitted.
So how are we going to do that, Rich? How are we going to do that?
It was just, we could do it on our leisure,
We can just add it back in and change that page or something.
I wouldn't change the date, which should have never come out last year. The document always referred to as Appendix E. E wasn't there. So when Tim went to the lawyer about that, she looked at the warrant article and the document said that's effectively a typo. Put it back in.
Okay, so it's not in there now.
That's correct.
So we just
But we still reference E in there, but we don't have it attached. The town voted to take off, I believe, the non-permitted, because we never had we can never make a complete list of non-permitted.
Right.
So if it's not, so we have a list of permitted. If it's not permitted, then you gotta consult the planning board.
Right. All right, thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Karen.
Hopefully you had dinner already, but you're free to go. And Karen, you'll get the originals and then for the archives, and then there'll be copies available and it will go online. Leah will put it up online, right?
Okay, great. No worries. Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you for coming.
Sure.
So it's going to be the same as this appendix E without the non-permitted.
That's correct.
So it's just these then,
Yeah.
and conditional uses.
We have just a list of permitted.
Right. And conditional uses or no?
I don't believe so. Permitted.
Okay. So
If
it's
it's
just,
not on the permitted list, you gotta get caught.
okay.
What's the intent?
So is that gonna be removed?
Yeah.
They pulled
That section's going to be removed.
Yeah.
that section, but appendix E is going in with just permitted.
Right.
So we're just keeping this.
So where is that in here?
It's right there. Page 53.
So that's not here, we just need to add that page.
Yes. Yes, appendix E, because we have to pull out.
Yeah, so we
to sit there?
Permitted uses.
Kind of
I'll go find that.
across from
It's
here.
going to be on the computer.
Right, so you can just delete those and the conditional.
Yeah.
So it goes all the way to here.
Okay. And then we just add that to the package.
Yep,
All right.
that's what I was told. Thank you. Karen's out of here already.
She got it?
Yeah. Thanks for bringing it down. That's, so on this, we're just gonna remove those two. That's from away or from,
That was from last.
Karen, you want to
so
just put these in your
she
office?
called that a typo. You never put it.
Because it said, don't take everything, you'll take the sections out, and that was supposed to remain, the permitted was supposed to remain. And the key was here, but the document itself still referred to it, so when you went to look for it, it wasn't there.
Oh, okay.
Thanks.
The other article for the solar panels, is that something we have to build, or is that already something available to go into the zoning?
It's in the zone, right? You put it in there.
Yeah.
I couldn't find anything about solar in that. Where is it?
I did not add that in there.
We have to put it in. We passed it.
Yeah. I only added the warrant article 2.
Okay.
Okay, so the solar document is already built. It just has to go.
It just has to be
Yeah.
added.
Okay. Yeah, I saw the 400 feet in there. 400 feet of frontage, 5 acres. No, not 400 feet, that didn't pass.
No, it was
5
5
acres.
acres.
Yeah, okay.
There were 3 articles, only 2 of them passed.
Right. Yeah, I apologize.
Oh, no worries. So that's gonna go, you'll put that in, Ed?
Yep, I can add that.
Okay, great. Okay, so now we're down to, we'll stay on announcements. I want to propose having planning board hours. I'm thinking 8 to 10 on Wednesday mornings. That'll give us a chance to get the minute draft into the book and be available to answer any questions for public and any questions for the board related to training or procedures or anything like that. We can do that.
Would you say that differently? Are you saying you're going to have a meeting Wednesday mornings?
Planning board hours, Wednesday mornings.
What does that mean?
I'll come down here and sit here for 2 hours.
That's fine. That's what I'm asking. That's what I'm asking.
Right.
To field questions from the community? Or
From the community, and if board members have any questions.
Every week?
The week after the meeting. So that'll be this once a month.
So it won't be a day after tomorrow, it'll be a week from the day after tomorrow.
No, it'll be the day after tomorrow.
Okay.
And it shows Wednesday, there's people here Wednesday.
If you do it on Thursday, I'll join you. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, I'm usually down in the city, so. But I would definitely join you on Thursdays.
So it's the second Wednesday of the month then?
Okay, Thursdays will be fine with me. I'll come down Wednesday and get a number for the door. I don't think there's anyone here on Thursday, is it?
Not for numbers. You got to see Leah.
Yeah, so that's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday.
And Thursday, if Ed and if we got planning board hours on Thursday, 8 to 10, there's nobody in here, right?
Well, the assessor will be over there.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's better. More people there. So let's change that to Thursdays.
That's
I
a
can-
great idea.
I can have Leah put it on the calendar on the schedule on Wednesday when I get my number. Okay, so I'll make a motion to have planning board hours in the townhouse from 8 to 10 a.m. on Thursday mornings. So Thursday after the meeting, once a month.
Town office. Town office.
Town office.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Archivist, Craig, you have something for today?
Okay. Okay. I'll try to be brief, but you all know I'm not particularly a brief person, so prepare yourselves.
I knew you were here, I brought you lunch.
Maybe breakfast too. So, my goal is to review with you folks what we need in terms of the archives for the town. And in the process of doing that, I'm going to talk about property files, which have been totally reorganized. You've probably heard a little bit about it. So the first thing is minutes. Marked approved with a blue stamp, preferably, which is what the selectmen do. If you don't have one, we should certainly be able to buy one for you. I know Leah has one, and signed by the person who took the minutes in blue ink, and it should be original.
Great.
Yes.
We changed the selectmen's process.
Oh, yeah?
We all sign the minutes. We don't stamp them approved anymore. When we approve them, we all sign them.
Okay.
In lieu of approving them. I mean, in lieu of stamping them.
Yeah. Okay. The stamp is not necessary. The signature of the minute taker is sufficient. It doesn't need all, the planning board minutes don't need all the planning board signatures.
We worked some scenarios where after they were approved, they could mysteriously change.
Right, and one way to get around that is, well, this wouldn't negate them being changed, but the way the pages should be numbered is if there's 5 pages. I believe George Nick used to do this, page 1 of 5, 2 of 5, 3 of 5, 4 of 5, so on and so forth. With the date, planning board minutes, and the date of the minutes at the top, so that you don't have pages disappear. That's not been a problem that I know of.
No.
But you definitely want to secure the minutes because they're official. That's why they go in the vault, and that's why the state requires us to keep them permanently. We have the minutes all the way back to, I forget the date, you'll see it later. We have almost, as far as I know, a complete collection of minutes for the planning board. So are you suggesting that the planning board members sign it, and whoever prepares the minutes puts all the names who were attending the meeting, because they're the only ones that can approve the minutes?
If you get a couple of signatures on it,
how about the chair and the secretary?
That would be 2 signatures that are difficult to change in the future.
Yep. Okay. All right.
So let me tie this in, if I may. When we have our meeting, office hours on Thursday, that would be to
Prepare
file
the
the
minutes.
draft.
Right. In the book there.
Book.
Yeah.
And then the following month,
You approve them.
we'll approve them.
Right.
And for consistency with the selectmen, I suggest that we just have a signature box and pass it around.
Have
Sign
everybody do it.
Have everybody sign it
Okay.
after they're approved.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
And then that gets filed in place of the draft, right?
Yeah, the draft gets destroyed.
I don't believe so. It's an official document. Once you post a draft, it's a draft forever. That's unfortunate, but that's the...
Does the lawyer say that?
Not you when he says that. Once you create a document, the draft, you put it in the book, you got to keep it forever.
It's temporary.
Once you make it official,
It's
So
temporary.
we're required to put the draft in the book within 5 days, right?
Supposed to have a draft available in 5 days.
Right.
Right.
And you're saying that's an official record. So when it gets amended,
You gotta manage both from that point on.
the lawyer says this.
I took a 91A course, that's what 91A course said.
I've never heard that.
Okay.
I mean, and one of the archival principles is that all previous drafts are destroyed when you have the finished document. We're not talking there about official state documents, town documents.
If it was a working document that we were routing around, what you described is correct. But once you put it in the binder, that becomes official.
It's news to me.
I think that's logical, right? If, let's say somebody that's taking the minutes puts in that the vote was 4-3, and then you go to approve, and you go, whoa, wait a minute, it was actually 6-1. You'd want to know that the minute guy was maybe trying to pull something over on you, right? Or made a mistake.
So how does that get corrected in the minutes?
You manage it. You gotta say, the draft was wrong.
But where does that get done? In a separate document or in that draft?
In the meeting minutes that are gonna effectively supersede it.
Right?
If you're approving minutes, right, wouldn't that be?
Yes, you'd approve the change to
Right.
The
to
amended
draft.
minutes.
Amended, yeah.
But you're talking about two different documents.
Yes.
Then the minute taker would have to create a new document with the correction.
Yes.
And then you vote on it,
It is just not nice. You don't see many drafts
Right.
filed.
Would you vote on it?
We have no drafts filed.
That's right.
Yeah, maybe.
We don't have a single draft filed. I do know, when I was selectman, we had a selectman on the board who would call the secretary and ask her to make changes to the minutes because he disagreed with how she might have phrased something.
Is
I
that person in the room?
confronted him at the meeting that he can't do that. It needs to be in public. And that's why you have a approval method at the next meeting. Does everybody approve of the minutes?
We got a 91A course schedule.
Right?
Really?
Yes, we
Yeah.
do. Right here.
Later in April,
Yeah.
April 17th.
17th of
Yeah.
Zoom, it's gonna be Zoom here, and it's gonna be advertised, but we should,
Is that the one that got canceled?
no, there was two that are coming.
There's
The
two,
one-
right?
The one that got
was
canceled is May
in
1st.
It's gonna be out in May, but the Zoom is for 91A is 17th, I think.
Huh?
At the
17th, yeah.
That's like
It's
this week.
from 9
Yeah,
to
that's what-
2:30.
Right here.
Just like this.
And that's just 91A. They go very deep
And
into
that would be a
91A.
good place to get clarification on this.
You're done with text.
That's a mess.
Next Wednesday.
Yep.
And I think it's Wednesday, May 1st, is a more general thing for all town officials, elected or appointed. They cover 91A, meeting minutes. I forget what the other topics are, but it's a more broad thing for people who are new to serving on a board or commission, or, Board of Selectmen, yeah,
You said May 1st?
May 1st.
It's also a Wednesday.
Right, that's the one that was canceled from last Wednesday because of the storm. Yeah, I planned on going to the 91A.
Has anyone been to these Zoom meetings from the Office of Planning?
I went to a trustee one a couple years back.
Here?
No, not, it was just Zoom at home.
This one is by the New Hampshire Municipal Association.
Okay.
They're putting it on.
Ed and I took one last year.
Does everybody just sit around and bring their own computer? and
No,
look
they're
at
gonna
this
put it on
stuff?
screen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we
So
can
if
check.
one is traveling, one is out of luck because you can't.
It's going to be
They're
available.
They are recorded.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I can look at it.
But the idea is put the projector here and put it on screen. Ed and I took one. It's the one we took when you first got on board.
Right.
And it's just not as good as in person.
Of course not.
You know, it just was sort of dry and long, but you didn't have to go to Concord for it.
Well, the thing about being in person at a meeting is you get to meet other planners, other selectmen, other officials.
And ask questions.
Right. You've got tables with these people from all over the state all day.
You can go down there, you can go in person.
You have to register for it.
You can still go in person to their office.
Yes, down at Concord, yeah.
$70.
Yeah, we can do that.
You go on the municipal association website, if they have openings.
What's their office? Is it over by the mall over there where we went?
Yes.
Yeah. That's just,
So, to get back to the minutes, it sounds like what you're saying is the draft and then the finalized version, which may very well be identical to the draft, both of those will be retained.
That was my understanding.
And what about the agenda?
No, the agendas are not required.
Okay. We never have kept it. There's a file in your file drawers that's that thick of old agendas. Should be tossed. Your rules of procedure say that an agenda needs to be published and available to all the members 3 days in advance, and the agenda has to be posted on the kiosk. That's your rules of procedure.
Do you want to talk about why we have rules of procedure? Do you know?
Yeah. I brought the RSA so I could be exact about it.
Because it has to be posted 3 days ahead as well?
The agenda. Yeah.
Available to us and posted 3
Yes.
days ahead?
Yeah. This is RSA 676:1, method of adopting rules of procedure. Every local land use board shall adopt rules of procedure, concerning the method of conducting its business. Rules of procedure shall be adopted at a regular meeting of the board and shall be placed on file with the city, town, village, district clerk, or clerk for the county commissioners for public inspection. The rules of procedure shall include when and how an alternate may participate in meetings of the land use board. So that applies also to the zoning board. And part of the reason for rules of procedure, although I would imagine most voters don't even know it exists, is so people know how you do your business. Just like your subdivision regs regulate, that book that you have is a huge regulation that you have to follow step by step in doing your subdivision regs. And that's all spelled out in your rules of procedure in terms of who does what.
And that allows the board to treat all applicants consistently.
Absolutely.
No favoritism on who's coming
Right.
applying for something.
Everybody gets the same treatment in terms of noticing and everything else, what's required.
And the board has approved our current rules of procedure.
Yeah, but it's been 7 years.
And so we should probably look at them and potentially
At
change,
the end, I was going
update,
to
whatever.
give you a recommendation that you go through it. There's so much stuff in there that you're not doing. For instance, you're supposed to be meeting on Thursday nights at 6:30, and it clearly says this time can be amended by a vote of the board to change the meeting date.
So
We
instead
did
of
do
saying the
that,
next
we
meeting.
did do that years ago, I remember.
Yeah.
In the rules of procedure,
During a meeting, we changed,
you change the meeting date,
right,
but you have to
Well-
change it in the rules of procedure.
okay.
Just like the rules of procedure still says, you shall post here and at Stone and Corners and on the website. 3 locations for the meeting. Just the notice of the meeting. There is no Stone and Corners.
no one's looked at that thing in a long time.
7 years. The last time it was revised was 2017. That, it's on your,
We'll
your,
We'll break it up, we'll go through that. That's, it's probably a lot of stuff we don't have to do in there as well.
you'd be surprised how much is in there that you have to do.
That's overlooked.
How many
Yeah.
things are things that we decided we had to do, and how many are state, 91A type stuff?
I can't answer that.
Just general question, like we should cross-reference, maybe have the lawyer look at it, like what are we not doing? that 91A says we
Usually
should
it'll
do?
say pursuant to RSA this,
Yeah,
da-da. But I'm not giving any legal advice on this. What I've done and what I'm most concerned about and interested in is complete subdivision files. And that's the next thing I'm going to talk about after the zoning ordinance. Because those are clearly spelled out, and I believe most of it, Ed may remember, comes from the RSAs, so that there's equality in how cases are dealt with, because these are cases, and there's findings of fact about the cases. It's not quasi-judicial the way the zoning board is, but you have the power to change deeds with a subdivision or a boundary line adjustment. That's a lot of power. And it's highly controlled. That's why that book is as thick as it is. Here's this spells out just issuing a notice of decision on every case that you do. And if you disapprove a case before you, you have to identify very clearly all the reasons why you disapproved it. If you don't, and the applicant takes it to the Superior Court, they automatically win because you haven't spelled out. I mean, when's the last time you disapproved a subdivision or a boundary line adjustment? I don't think any. But the day may come. So that's just about a decision. 3 pages. This is administrative and enforcement procedures for on plats. So that would be boundary line adjustments and subdivisions. And most of this is incorporated into your subdivision regs, and it's why you have to follow your subdivision regs, which you can amend and revise, as you just did in January. Okay, let's keep moving. If any of you have your rules of procedure, Appendix S is a form that was created by George, I believe. Annual Planning Board Minutes Verification Document, wherein he documents that the vault, the archives, has received every minute, every set of minutes for meetings and hearings for the entire year. And then you can see what the form looks like, and then he signs it, and I believe the chair signs
It's
it.
right here if you want to see it.
Yeah. I have a copy of it. I know what it looks like.
It's really not to do just
Yeah.
the months and then. Yeah.
So,
That way he's verifying he's done his part. So the town can't complain if we can't find minutes. He's given them to us. It may sound like nickel and diming, but it covers his butt in terms of his responsibility. And it's one of the problems with not having an administrative assistant. Zoning ordinances and regulations. Preferably, I would like an original copy signed in blue ink by all members of the voting planning board and certified by the town clerk.
Sorry, what was
Obviously,
that? The first part?
preferably, I'd like an original one. So next
Okay.
year of the zoning, the new zoning ordinance, yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to give you later the finding aid to all the planning board records. You'll see we have, other than 2 zoning ordinances that are from earlier years that I never was able to find, we have a copy of the original zoning ordinance, which I think was 1961, all the way through till this year. It was not easy getting all those. But we eventually got them. And that way, if you have to refer back to a substandard lot and what the zoning was in that year, we have a copy of it. Update the website with a new one, obviously. And some towns will register, or not register, that's the wrong word, will file it with the Registry of Deeds in Ossipee, and it becomes an official document that way. There's been a couple years where it's been done. There's no necessary reason to do it. I've never understood why.
What is it, what was it again? File what?
You could take the one that you just signed, once it's complete with the solar power and is certified by the town clerk, you can take it up, they'll do a book and page, it becomes an official document at the county. I'm not recommending it one way or another, but I have seen towns do that.
So they probably have the whole zoning up there.
They would have the most current zoning. And then it would also be on their website, but it's also going to be on our website.
But that's not required, it's just encouraged.
No, it's not required at all. No, no. So one thing that some towns do, which is really helpful, it would be a big project to undertake. You'd have to go through all the warrants. Is, the back page where you have amended March 12th this year, March 14th last year, you do a little synopsis, very, very brief. Like for this year, it would say lot size change, and you could put the numbers, the Roman numerals and the Arabic numbers. You don't have to. And solar power. And what was the third one that passed?
Just the 2.
Just those 2, okay, yeah. Right, there were 4 and only 2 passed. And you do that for every year. Because how many of you here know when the wetlands section was done in your zoning? Or the floodplain?
All they have is a signature page that's loaded with dates, but it doesn't
Right.
reference what was done.
Right, yeah. So it would be going backwards, but with the warrant articles in the town reports, which are all there, assuming they pass, that doesn't tell you. More current years, you have the previous year and whether or not it passed. The other ones, you'd have to go to the town record books to see, did it pass? But, if you did a little bit at a time, it's going to be lengthy because as you saw, there's been amendments for probably 20 years, 25 years, different amendments, which is good. It's a living document that way. But it makes it much easier if you have to refer to when did something go into effect. I know Sandwich has that, and I think Madison does too. But they started it way back.
So we can start today and find time later
do
to
this
go
one.
back.
Yeah, like your ADUs. If there was a question, you find out somebody has had an ADU for 30 years. I mean, you're not going to do anything about it, but you don't have any enforcement power anyways, but at least you'd be able to say to the selectmen, well, we passed that in this year, or the selectmen would be able to find that fairly readily. Okay. So, moving on to subdivision files. So, some of you may know that the selectmen decided to undertake a massive change to the property files. Number one, cleaning them up, which involved removing all but the 2 deeds that are required to be in them, because many of our files, number one, they weren't in hanging files, they were in files like this. They were pretty tattered, you know what they look like. Stuffed. We went and bought a new second fireproof vault file drawers, and undertook to clean them all up and put everything that has to do with a property in one location. For instance, land use, which would be current use applications with the maps, and land use change tax that's associated when a property goes out of current use. Those used to be kept in a separate file in a separate drawer. So you could go look at a property and you wouldn't know whether it was in current use. You could tell from the assessment card if you knew how to read the assessment card, but you wouldn't have any of the information about the application. In most towns that are big, the state comes around, I think, on an annual basis, and they review a certain percentage of your current use properties to make sure that everything is the way it's supposed to be. You all may remember, those of you that were here when Pam was the assessor clerk, Pam Frazier, and she would send out and say, you owe me a map showing me hardwoods, wetlands, softwoods, and a drawing of the dimensions, so on and so forth. And there were a couple people in town that still haven't provided that. If you go look at the land use change file, there's hardly anything in there. So, the new property files look like this. You open it up. This is a cross-reference sheet to those flat files. So this particular property, which happens to be Gatchell and Peterson, map 6 lot.
2, it's on the folder. 6-2, it's right there on the folder.
Oh yeah, very good.
What do you need that paper for?
2 boundary line adjustments, one in 2005, one in 2006, ZBA exception in 2003, a survey, 2 surveys of the land, 1982, 1983, and a septic design in 2004. And all of that can be found in those flat files in shelf 1, file number 3. And within those files, they're all filed sequentially. So if this property sells, and a person comes in and says, I have no idea where my septic tank is, can you help me? They can now go to the state and hopefully get it on the state website, but also we have the paper copy, paper plat, 24 by 36. So the way this is organized, you have all the assessment cards since the last
Evaluation or something? No?
yes, the last valuation, thanks, 2019. When the new valuation is done, all of this will get tossed. Well, it won't get tossed. It goes to cold storage upstairs. and we'll start collecting, if there's any changes on the property, everything from 2024 valuation, because that'll all be done by September, October, I think. And that's what the state requires. And the state requires that we keep the current deed of the current owner and the previous deed of the grantor to the current owner. So there's 2 deeds here. Some of these property files had 5, 6, 7 deeds, and they're handy, but all of it's online at the Registry of Deeds, and we were basically duplicating the effort of the Registry of Deeds.
And filling drawers.
Pardon me?
And filling drawers with them.
Exactly, yeah. I hated to throw some of them out, the more historical ones, but, you know, I can go to Ossipee. Land use. Here's their application, all the reports, everything to do with their current use. This had zoning activity. There's the decision, and what's yet to be done is on this form, there'll be an 8.5 by 11 sheet that says this property has had zoning activity. Go to group, series, box, and file to see the file, the case file on that particular activity. We don't put all of that in here. That's all in the vault, and those have to be kept permanently. Planning board activity, and I'm not sure. Proof that you notified everybody in case you did a subdivision and somebody comes and the butter comes back 3 years later and says, I never got a notice. Just like somebody on Cottle Hill Road, when it was changed to Class 6, they were never notified that it was being changed to Class 6. And so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about, let's see what this says, boundary line adjustment. There's the application, and interestingly enough, there is no notice of decision that I see. Building permits. Every building permit that we know of is all arranged. Everything in the file is always arranged, the most current going backwards. So if you open this up, here's a building permit from 2023 to install a 500-gallon gas tank. Here's another one, and another one, and another one, and another one, and another one. They're all clipped together to keep them together. And then lastly, behind general is the driveway permit, the application, and the permit that's granted. Anything to do with a DES application, wetlands permit for all the people on the lake, if they put a dock in, if they rebuilt a beach, stuff like that. We're going to be probably filing reports of cut so that somebody buying a property can know when was the last time lumber was taken off of the property and just how much. And what else? Any correspondence, like between the selectman and a property owner, all that is behind general. Now, not everybody has current use, so there's tons of files that don't have the green one. Some have never had planning board activity, so there's plenty without the blue label. The general label tends to be in all of them. The zoning, not many.
Is that done for all of them?
Pardon me?
How many other of those are there?
Oh, the property
Those folders?
files?
Yeah.
I think it's 675. Yeah.
One for every map and lot.
One for every map and lot.
And where do those reside?
They're all in the assessor clerk's office in fireproof cabinets, file cabinets, which the three of us tried to bring in.
Yeah, we almost lost you.
Almost lost me doing it.
So what do you want the planning board to do with subdivision stuff? Nothing, you started that.
Yes, that's the next thing. So I'm going to describe to you, based on your rules of procedure, the kind of planning board file that I would expect to file in here. So we could take the most recent subdivision, which was Ryan Greenhalgh on Governor's Road, and here's what we would see. First of all, there's what we call a parent lot. His father and mother had owned, it was either 13 or 17 acres. 13, I think it is. Yeah, 13, because mom and dad now have 9, and there were 2 2-acre lots, give or take, subdivided off. The parent lot is where all the planning board stuff goes, because it was Mr. and Mrs. Greenhalgh who requested to subdivide their land, not Ryan. If Ryan had bought a 10-acre lot from them, and then he subdivided that into 2 5-acre lots, then it would be under him.
But the 10 would be under the original.
Yes.
So the original has the blue tab, he doesn't have the blue tab.
Exactly. Exactly. So the way I organize the file, when I get a file, all the files I got from George Nick, that is, the very first thing that goes on the top is the notice of decision. It's required by RSA, has to be sent certified to the landowner, and needs to be posted on the kiosk. I think on the website too, I'm not sure about that. To notify people this has been a change to the property found in the town of Brookfield. So that's the notice of decision. If you go to template appendix Q, that's when you approve the decision. R for disapproval. That's appendix R.
In the rules of procedure.
In the rules of procedure, yeah. The complete application, which is used for boundary line adjustment and for subdivision, is appendix B in their rules of procedure. And that all meets the RSAs for subdivision and boundary line adjustment. So you have, the way I organize the file is you have the notice of decision, that's the first thing you see. Then you have the complete application, and then behind that is what I call supporting documentation. In the supporting documentation, you would have the list of abutters, the abutter notice, which is appendix N, which is a sample of the letter that goes to every abutter. Then the notice of the public hearing for publication, and they have an example, a general example, and then they have an example for when it was done in Foster's, and an example for when it was done in Granite State News. So that's appendix J to L. And then appendix M is the notice of the public hearing for the bulletin board and the website sample. And what I've added to that is you always want a date when it was posted. I would do that even when you post the date of your meeting, which needs to be what, 48 hours in advance?
It's 3 days.
Yeah, 2 days.
3 days for the agenda.
3 days.
3 days for the agenda, but I think the meeting is only 2 days, but I'm not sure on that one.
It's 24 hours
Is it 24 hours?
for a regular any meeting. Any government.
Oh, okay.
Are you
Thank
talking about
you.
the regular planning board meeting?
Yeah, the regular
It's on-
planning board
It's on the
meeting.
calendar. Just,
It's not enough on, you mean the website calendar?
yeah.
Has to be posted on the kiosk.
So if that's on the agenda, we're covered.
I don't know if that suffices.
There's one up there for tonight's meeting.
Yeah.
We're meeting tonight at 7 o'clock here at planning board.
Just
If
his
you-
planning board meeting, 7 o'clock?
If you look at
The
that
separate document
kiosk,
is the agenda.
No agenda. There's gonna be a
Okay,
meeting.
from here on in, there'll be two on there then. Meeting notice and agenda.
I guess.
Don't need an agenda. Well, your rules of procedure say you need one, the state doesn't require one.
Right. The rules of procedure says you has to go 3 days in advance to the members and for the public. So the public knows
So
what
we
you're
change
going
the
to be
rules and just
addressing.
put the agenda out there.
This says 72 hours.
No.
Yeah, 3 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This document, this rules and procedure, that's our document, right?
That's
So
your
we
document.
can make changes at our meetings without going before the public.
You know, that's a good question. I don't think it requires a hearing.
Yeah, there's a section that describes how you change it,
Yes.
and you can't,
Right.
you can't do it in one meeting. You've got to not notice it, but talk about it in public twice, I think.
Yeah. In a public meeting, but not a hearing.
One
Yeah.
of our meetings, yes.
Yeah, and I think you have to be careful to, I remember when these were being drawn up, and there was purpose behind it. So you have to be careful not to appear that you're trying to make things easier for yourself by eliminating a lot of stuff that serves the public.
This is May 10th, 2004.
That's when it was first adopted. And then it was at the end, you'll see the revisions. The most recent revision was 2017.
Probably rules in there from the 60s.
No, there were no rules of procedure until 2004.
Wow.
Yeah. And the ZBA has the same thing. They tried, I don't know if they ever revised theirs.
They did.
They did. I've tried to get a copy of that, but I haven't been successful yet.
2004, so now we know who wrote them.
Yeah, probably.
What'd you say, Richard? When you,
If the rules and procedures came out in 2004, now we know who wrote them.
There were some major revisions
when Rob
around 2010, 2011.
when Rob was on the board,
Yeah.
they worked it.
And Bill Gaver worked on those. When I read them, I could read Bill Gaver in some of it, just the way it's written. That doesn't make it bad or good, it just is a matter of fact that he was the scribe who wrote them. And they passed, they were accepted. Anyways,
Passed by the board.
by this board, they're your rules of procedure. The town has nothing to do with it, selectmen have nothing to do with it. There are towns, New Durham, I think it is, has rules of procedure for the Board of Selectmen. It's not required,
Right.
but there are towns that have done that, just so, again, there's an equality in the administration of how things are done.
And by the way, they're all online on the website.
The rules and procedures.
Yes. Yeah.
Got a lot of reading.
Okay, so we did a butters notice, notice of public hearings, notice to the applicant, Appendix O, notice to the surveyor, Appendix P, certified mail receipts and return receipts returned envelopes that never got delivered, were never claimed. All of that gets retained, so you can't have somebody come and say, I never received it. If you get something back where, a lot of people won't claim a certified letter because they're afraid of what it contains. So the post office returns it to you eventually. You keep that. You made a goodwill effort.
And you don't open it.
You don't open it.
You have a copy of what's in it, so if you ever go to court, you open it in front of the judge, the sealed envelope, and that's proof that that's what was in the envelope, as opposed to an open envelope with a letter that might have changed.
So that's why you send it certified and return receipt. And we keep those if we have them.
You should, you just sold it.
Right. And then all the letters, copies of the letters to the abutters. One copy of the template of the letter that went to abutters, and then the letter that went to the applicant and the surveyor. Lastly, the Mylar and 4 copies of the printed have to be signed. They should be signed in blue ink, and they need a date attached to it. I can't tell you the number of subdivisions I filed over there. All the subdivisions in this town can be found over there. The Mylar, of course, goes up there. This is all spelled out in your rules of procedure for how it's done, and it all involves an administrative assistant working with the chair. And the administrative assistant does all the heavy lifting.
So do we have one?
Yeah.
No,
No, we're gonna.
you haven't had one, but you really, I can't tell you
That's
how
still
important it
in
is.
our budget, right?
Yep.
Post it once.
Can we get
And
a
the
copy,
reason-
can we get a copy of what you have? What you're reading?
I can give it to you. I mean, it's just my notes, but I'm happy to make a copy of it.
That'd be helpful for the minutes.
It's. I tell you, it's all in your rules of procedure. If there's a chapter.
What you're pulling it from, what you're pulling from?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you go to staff and elected positions, you have your chair, your vice chair, administrative assistant. When the administrative assistant isn't available to take minutes, they're not at the meeting, the chair appoints a secretary pro tem for the day, and they take the minutes. The chair should not be burdened with taking minutes. I don't know how you ever got the town to pass that warrant to pay the chairman of the planning board to take minutes. Nobody else. I mean, Frank Frazier took minutes for the Conservation Commission for years. He doesn't get paid.
That wasn't payment to take minutes. That's all the duties of the administrative assistant that we don't have.
I stand corrected.
And
But still, he shouldn't have been doing administrative assistant work. I realize he took it on because you couldn't get anybody, but there's got to be somebody out there to hire to do it. It's
it's happening.
learning.
It's happening.
It's
What's going to happen?
good, great.
Quite a few duties.
But they have a ton of duties, and they need to know all the RSAs as much as you do.
The applicants would be flowing in.
Well, it's become a professional field.
Yeah.
You can go up to Sandwich. The woman there does 3 different towns. Land use, she does, in every town she does planning board and zoning board, knows the RSAs up and down, knows exactly what has to be done.
Okay.
Yeah, and knows where to find answers if she doesn't know what needs to be done.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, we tried one of them one time, and it kind of blew up on us.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, George, you worked with George, I think, when you were chair.
Yeah. Before I took this job, I forgot George wasn't still here.
Gotcha. Anyways, the other thing that gets saved, the last thing that gets saved in the planning board file is more and more we get a legal paper size of the plat. So you have the big plat, but usually the surveyor gives you a
8.5 by 11.
yeah, 8.5 by 14
Black
actually.
and white, that's going in there.
And that goes in there also, just for ease. So if it's a big enough or an easy enough subdivision, you can look at it. If you don't need all the fine numbers and everything, you can see what happened. Otherwise, you pull it from there, or I pull it from there for you. And so that's the whole file. And that's what's expected to be in here for every, if there were, 3 lot line adjustments in here, that's what would be with each one of them. Needless to say, over the years, some of it's there, some of it isn't there. So we do our best. Lastly,
So it's our responsibility to make sure it's all there.
the administrative assistant would do that. And actually with George, he was so good, he made copies for every member of the board. So when you sat to make a ruling, to approve or disapprove a subdivision, you have the entire application, the list of abutters, everything. And he never threw any of that out. So I spent my time with his files, tossing tons of paper, because I only need one copy.
So
And
what
preferably
is your
an original.
title? Or what role do you play? What are you called?
I'm the records manager / archivist for the town.
Okay.
My job is basically to do the vault, to make sure that all the records that are required by RSA 31A are retained, either permanently or on a schedule and then destroyed at the end of the scheduled period that they need to be retained. We just had last November, a massive shredding event. Truck came and did like 40 boxes in 10 minutes. One of these great big shredders in a box, and they just kept dumping it in.
So who do you take direction from? The selectmen?
Actually, the town clerk, technically, but primarily in concert with the selectmen.
Got it.
Yeah.
And when you said something to the effect of building permits that I'm aware of, or something that kind of tells me
Right.
there's some process.
We have building
issue,
permits
or-
that go back to the 70s.
And building permits get through the selectmen, right?
Well, we don't sign them, but we're responsible.
Okay.
The issue is, I think you'll see it right here. We gather all these documents.
Right.
We don't know what to do with them. In the past, we didn't know what to do with them. So some were put in this slot, some were put in that slot. Now we have a home for it. We put the package together, building permits included, and we know where to file them. In the past, people didn't know what to do with them, so they didn't get filed. They got spared.
There's still a box in the vault that has a pile of septic approvals for construction and approval to operate, which is the way they used to do it on these multicolored sheets. There'd be like 3, you type on it and it goes through all 3. And
Yeah, that is old.
most of them are from the 80s.
Yeah.
This town went through major subdivision in the 70s and 80s. Major subdivisions, or attempts at subdivisions. So there was a lot of septic designs going in, and whether or not we even have those septic designs in those files is questionable. And the problem with those is with this pile, they have no map and lot.
So you don't even know where to go.
They're by names, and of course the names of the people who are long dead.
Right.
Septic systems are all expired anyway.
Some of them, you'd be surprised how we have some septic system, mine is 32 years old, you know, and there are others that I think are even older than that.
Well, I mean, now, if you had a subdivision with a septic design on it from 1960, it's not going to be compliant.
Yeah, but it was compliant then. It doesn't have to meet compliance now as long as it's there. When it gets replaced, the old design gets tossed and a new one gets filed. Right. But a existing one that was put in 40 years ago or 60 years ago, they don't have to change it. That's how people get there's some people, I think, that still just have tanks, no leaching field.
So Craig, what do you want us to do? I mean, you've described everything here. Now, what do you want us to do from the planning board perspective?
I want you to follow your rules of procedure religiously on all of this stuff.
And how do we communicate the documents, or how do we give you the documents that have been created?
Very simple. Your administrative assistant has a file. Number one, a case number is assigned to the application so that you all know you're working tonight on case 024-001. And a log is kept. I'm going to pass this around. Here's from the very first subdivision that we know of in 1969 through 1992. Every subdivision or BLA that was done. What's missing is whether or not it was approved or not approved. I'm assuming that all of those were approved. I found logs for the early 2000s. For the last 4 or 5 years, I don't know of any logs. It's easy enough to reconstruct just by going through your minutes. But it's very important because can anybody here remember when the Drew Farm subdivision was approved? Probably not something that you don't have to bring it to memory, but it would be very easy to find it if you needed to refer to it.
1998. I'm only kidding.
Well, like 2008, 2009.
It was that.
I think it's 2008.
Sounds about right.
The other thing on subdivisions, just as an aside, speaking of that subdivision, you never use the letter I, you never use the letter L, you never use the letter O, for obvious reasons. I'm talking about map 8, lot 8O.
Is that an O or a 0?
You tell me. That's what's confusing. So general practice, you never use that. You don't let a surveyor use it, and you don't use it, or the assessor shouldn't use it when they assign the map and lot. And that's another question, but for another time. Who assigns the lot numbers? Because what comes in from the surveyor, you get, here's map 18, lot 8, that's been divided into lot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
Code enforcement officer always assigns lot numbers.
He does. Okay. I really didn't know who does. I thought well, that's another discussion.
So when this new administrative assistant arrives,
Right.
Very often.
I'll be happy to sit with them and help.
This is a six-figure job.
to work with us to get this all squared away,
Or personal way.
so we get what we need.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course, all of this depends on you getting an application for BLA, boundary line adjustment, or a subdivision, and who knows.
And we're going to comb through that rules and procedure too.
Good. Yeah.
Not not looking for trouble, but we're gonna update it.
Yeah. The other thing, I made some copies of some recent planning board public hearing notices published in the Granite State. I totally forgot that the applicant pays for the publication. It doesn't come out of your budget.
We've been paying for that all along.
No, but it should be billed. Because if you look in your rules of procedure, it shows what the price is for publication, and you charge that person. Here's what Wakefield did recently for 2 hearings they were having, very specific.
We charge them for the mailings.
Right, you charge them for the certified return receipt mailing, but you can also charge them for publication.
I thought that came out of their application fee. I did too.
It is. That's what I'm saying. It's in their application
I think that's
fee.
how we've been doing it.
But you haven't been publishing anything.
We've been budgeting it for notifications.
I thought it was part of the fee for a subdivision.
Yeah.
It is. And for a boundary line adjustment.
But we don't bill it directly, it's part of that fee. The fee is.
No, it's a separate line item in the fee. There's a fee. If you look, I'm pretty sure it's in the, it's probably in the appendix. It shows, there's the general application fee.
And based upon the number of lots or lot lines, it adds up.
Yeah, I don't know how that's figured, but then it also shows for the mailing, if you have 15 abutters, it's 15 times a fixed price. And then for publication, usually 2 weeks sequentially. And they pay for it. Where you would pay for it is if next January you do a hearing on zoning amendments.
That's how the fee is calculated. The fee is calculated based upon all those details.
Oh, exactly, yeah.
Yes.
So sometimes you'll see a fee of $450 and up.
Yes.
Yeah.
How many languages do we have to use?
Just one.
Okay.
Is that the state that requires it published in the newspaper, or is that our rules of procedure?
Our choice.
Your rules of procedure currently say that you post 2 places here, Stoneham and Town Hall, town offices,
So that's,
and you publish in either Foster's or Granite State.
I mean, based on that survey at town meeting, where 20% of the town was here, 8 people read the renter.
Yeah, but that,
Like, why are we paying for that?
but when that was done, the RSA required it. Now the RSAs have changed.
Right.
Right, so again, rules of procedure, we should update that. Like,
Absolutely.
why are we paying for that?
Yeah.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
there's a perfect example of why
That's
we
right.
need to look at that.
Well, that's a good reason, right?
Yeah.
To support.
Those are called notification fees we were talking about, right? Prior.
To the abutters, you mean? And to the
Or it just
applicant?
says notification fees, it doesn't specify.
That's to the surveyor, the applicant, and to all the abutters.
And what about notices in news media?
That would be covered in your fees.
Well, there's an additional expenses here.
You remember that's not his document, that's our document. So we should be asking the questions of ourselves, how do you get those fees?
Boy, that's what I'm saying, I'm looking for them in here.
We're gonna go through this.
Okay.
Right, and the other thing is, of course, to look at other towns and see what their fees are like. And are yours equalized with them, or are you low or high? I have no idea what other towns charge, but I mean, it's a lot of work that you do. So, that's it. Oh, the last thing. Two resources for you. If you want to pass those around. And pass this around, please. Several years ago, probably at least 12 or 15 years ago, Dick Peckham, who had been a member of the planning board for probably more than 20 years, went through all the maps that are in those map drawers, inventoried them, and marked who they were most relevant to. Mainly Board of Selectmen, Conservation Commission, and Planning Board. Because like if you were dealing with a major subdivision, meaning 20, 25 lots, typically you'd want to look at how that falls in terms of hydric soils, slopes, all of that kind of stuff, which are in all these maps. Also your master plan maps, large, are in there. I don't know whether we get SRPC maps anymore without a membership fee. Do you know?
Most of them are online now in GIS.
Yeah.
You talking about floodplain maps and stuff like that?
Yeah, all that kind of
You
stuff.
have to request them.
Okay.
We just never-
Because we haven't gotten any current maps in a number of years. We get the nodal maps for 911, but I haven't seen us get a
May 7th.
planning map.
May 7th, they come to the selectmen's meeting.
Okay, we need to find out.
Come and ask.
Yeah.
Frank,
'Cause
Frank probably knows some of this stuff, doesn't he?
Who?
Fred, I mean. I think his last name.
Frank Frazier.
Frank
For
Fraser.
conservation.
He's ZBA, right?
No, he's conservation.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He used to be ZBA, he
Okay.
loves ZBA.
Yeah, he knows. I think he knows where some of that stuff is.
It's all in there.
Yeah, well, maybe you pulled some out for us.
Yeah, but the question is, are they updated? That's what I-
Right, I don't think these are necessarily updated. I think there's much more current maps to be had. And the best way to get them is encased in Mylar so that they last, otherwise they get tattered over time. You might think of asking Dick Peckham to come for maybe 15 or 20-minute discussion with you about what some of these maps are. As I typed it up from his handwritten inventory, I thought, I don't know what that is.
These drawers right here.
Those drawers right there, and what I have yet to do is go through and say what drawer the particular map is, and I will do that sometime in the next couple of
They're
weeks.
scattered. I was looking at something a couple of years ago with that.
Yeah,
And
yeah, it should be like 1 through 10 in the first drawer, 11 through 20 in the second drawer, something simple like that.
it's very different, right?
Yeah. And then the other thing is this finding aid. I thought it would be helpful if you saw what we had. This is all in the vault, retained permanently. Minutes of meetings since 1959, when the first planning board was appointed by the selectmen, after the existence of a planning board was developed. And then I think it took them 2 years to get a zoning ordinance.
So if it's in the vault, we come to you to get it.
It's the only way you'd get it. Yeah.
Right.
Except for the current copies that are on your website. Yeah.
I want to see the driveway permit regulations from 1905.
Such a wise guy, I tell you.
It's not my
I will-
it's not my document.
I will pull them out and make sure that you have them. How about the building regulations from 1962? The excavation ordinance is an interesting one, given your recent discussions. And also there was something that came up about floodplains that the planning board was supposed to address. You probably don't remember it. It came up like in November or October. There was a letter.
Yes, they asked whether the floodplain changed or whether we had additional building in the floodplain.
Right.
I'm not sure if it was ever addressed.
I don't
know
think it
We discussed
was.
it briefly at the meeting.
Right. And I remember Ed said the maps are in there. There is a floodplain map in there.
Yes, there is.
But I don't know whether or not it meets current requirements. So that's all I have
Is
to
that
say.
that FEMA thing?
Yeah, that was
That's
all
the FEMA
part of
thing,
that
right?
emergency management. Floodplain.
So thank you for your patience
$5,000.
and
Very informative.
have fun.
Thank you, Craig.
Thank you very much,
Thank
that
you.
was great. Very-
Old business, it's blank. What's, old business is on.
I have an old business question.
Go ahead.
So you're chairman, am I still vice chairman?
Yes.
And
Oh, wait
who's
a
our
minute.
secretary?
Wait, you're not vice chairman yet.
I was.
I move that we elect Ed Engels as vice chairman of the planning board.
I will second that.
Comments? Does anybody else want to run against Ed for vice chairman?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thanks, Ed.
Thank you.
Officially.
Secretary, do we have a secretary? I don't think we did last time.
No, we don't have a secretary, but we are going to get an admin assistant.
Right.
Pronto.
So you have someone in mind, I assume?
I don't.
Oh.
We tried for a couple of years, and we just couldn't find anybody who would even apply.
This lady in Sandwich, does she
This
want to do
lady.
another town?
I would go to Middleton, New Durham, Wakefield,
There's
Ossipee.
there's someone here. Let's check here first.
Hey, no, he's got an idea. Rick's got an idea.
We'll check here first.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll see Leah Wednesday and we'll post it.
Whatever the board wants.
So,
It needs to be somebody who has great attention to detail. That's all.
We'll find that out when we interview.
And a lot of the work is detailed in the rules of procedure.
Exactly.
What you have to do.
So all they have to do is follow what it says.
Form letters, et cetera, are in there.
But all those appendices are all there. They don't have to come up with anything.
So the last subdivision we approved, did we have a decision?
No,
So do we need to do that? It sounds like we do.
neither did you have one before
Well,
that,
there
nor
was
the
a
one
decision,
before
it was
that.
documented.
That's what I mean.
And generally, what's happened in the past is if the developer or the requester gets what they want, they don't take us to court because they're happy.
Oh, I see.
It's when the planning board says no, then you better have all your Ts and
Yeah.
everything
And the
squared away,
reasons
or
and
you're gonna go to
document.
court.
I see.
We still should have it, but we haven't been sued because the applicant did.
Got it.
Next subdivision, we oversee our process.
Sure.
So we all know, make sure everything goes in the
Right, and the question remains whether or not you want to go back and correct some things that are missing from the last couple of years.
I want to get forward right first.
Yeah.
Great.
Because if we start going back without going forward first and getting that right, we're still not going to know what we're looking at.
Now, is there some
We need to get the admin
RSA,
from the back.
is there some RSA that says when a subdivision opportunity comes forward that you can't get it in advance or you can't look at it in advance? In other words, to be prepared?
In your rules of procedure, you have, other towns call it a consultation, where the person comes in, nobody's making any applications, but they come in and they say, usually they give you a plat, and they say, here's what I'm thinking of for the 60 acres I own over on Clark Road. And I just want to see what you folks think in terms of the roads I'm thinking of, so on and so forth. It's a consultation. It's in your rules of procedure. It's called something like a
Preliminary.
Preliminary review,
something like that. Yeah.
that's in the rules of procedure, we've done that before.
Yes, we've done
Yeah.
that.
Well, to me, a developer, particularly for a major subdivision, it would be very smart
Oh,
to
yeah.
do that, to get a feeling for the attitude of the planning board, and also for you guys to get some idea of what might be coming down the pipe.
So that's technically the process too, when they finalize it, they bring it in for approval, we review it, we're not gonna sign at that meeting. It's gonna get reviewed and then,
Right, it has to be a complete application
so it's a
first.
process,
Yeah.
it's how,
Yeah.
when they come in with their world on fire, it's, we don't have to jump around and
Right.
sign things on. We have to get it right.
But I think the question Marshall asked was, as these documents start to flow in, is there any restriction on the board looking at them before the next meeting?
We'd have to get an answer for that.
I don't know. I don't think you make any decisions, and I don't think you discuss it among each other.
No, you make no decisions. You
We're
don't
discussing it.
But are
I
you
think,
allowed
to look at it?
look at it and talk as a group?
No, no groups.
No group meetings.
You gotta be careful of groups.
There's no talking outside of an open public meeting. You don't talk about it with anybody
Okay.
on the board. Again, this is all spelled out in your rules of procedure, the behavior for how to deal with a case.
How many pages is this rules of procedure?
20.
And where
And
do
then
I,
the
where do I
appendix.
get it?
It's
Can
on
I
the
get
web.
it on the web?
On the planning board website, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You didn't get your book yet. Show me your book, Terry.
Yeah, it's just,
When the administrative assistant gets here, they will put together a book like that for you with
Yeah.
all that stuff in it.
All the
Okay.
In
regulations.
I never
the
did either.
meantime,
We
But
never-
in the
You don't
meantime,
have one?
but in the meantime,
we
I
didn't
guess
get
I need to read the rules and procedures, for God's sake.
last night.
I made my own book. They're all on the web, you can go.
Yeah.
Print them out, print them out. We got binders here.
Really?
I made my own.
That raises another interesting thing. Tim, the former chair, who took care of all the administrative assistant stuff, was going to transfer all of it onto this computer, off of his home computer.
I believe it's done.
And does anybody have the password and everything?
I believe we do.
Very good.
Have we verified it? No, but I've been assured it's all there on the shared, on the backup drive.
He answers his phone. Just,
Well, he told me, he said, I told him, he said, it's all there. Log in, look here, it's there.
So the chair will be getting that password and all of that.
the chair will need to be shown the computer and how to use it.
Yeah, we made sure it was there.
Good.
Well, we were assured that it's there.
Okay.
New business, admin assistant. We'll start that on Wednesday with Leah. And
So what is,
Public-
what
public
is that
office
job paying?
hours.
What is that job paying?
what's the current rate?
19.
19.
Now, these people that
19
Greg,
what?
at dollars an hour,
Okay.
these people that Greg talked about, sandwich and whatever, and we've also looked at Meredith and custom prices, we're talking 80, 90 an hour. For the professional.
So, Craig, what would you reckon, how many hours a week do you think this job is, assuming the normal flow?
Not a whole lot. That's one of the problems, is it doesn't, you need somebody who does it someplace else or has other income. Because
I mean,
if
if
they,
it's 5
you
hours.
like quick meetings. I remember when you were chair, when you were on the board before, you ran a very efficient meeting and usually were out in an hour, hour and 15 minutes. And, you know, at $25, $30, $35 an hour, and no subdivisions or boundary line adjustment applications for the first 6 months till September.
Right. It would be,
It's not a lot of money.
2 hours
Yeah.
or 3 hours?
Yeah.
A week? A month, I mean?
2-3 hours, I mean, they
A
have to
month.
prepare the minutes.
Right.
Yeah, a
So
month.
they get 2 or 3 hours here if we keep talking.
We're busier than that now, though, I think.
Right. I'm just trying to
Come
understand.
eventually, blame it on me.
There's a lot of.
I told you, I warned you, I talk a lot.
You didn't have to warn us. You didn't have to warn us. Well, we love it when you talk.
Rich doesn't though.
So first,
It
this
shapes everything.
Thursday, this Thursday is the first hours? Is that true?
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, I've not heard $85-90 an hour. I can find out what the woman in Sandwich makes. I don't think she makes anything close to that.
Meredith was a professional company in Meredith.
Oh, a company. Yeah, what you want is an individual who does it.
We went in, yeah.
Well, I'm not telling you what you want. I mean, it would be helpful, but they're going to be very bored because, you know, some towns have subdivision. Look at Wakefield. They have subdivisions going on all the time.
George used to use every dime.
Oh, yes, I remember. Yeah.
One thing we discussed last year is the master plan does not have to be completely revised to be reissued. And a lot of communities, when they finish a chapter or two, will have the public, we found out the process is you get a chapter or two, you want to reissue, you have a public hearing, and then you can republish the entire document with those sections updated. You don't have to wait for all the whole document to be updated.
Well, that'll keep you ahead of it too, because you always have a current revision. You're not going to be 5 years or 10 years out.
Or it's 20 years old, but we've got sections that are ready to go, that were ready to go, we just never had a public hearing to get those.
So we're due for.
And then when you're all done, you're ready to start all over again.
That's right.
It's like painting one side of your house every day.
Just an FYI.
That's been going for 6 years.
That's right.
We had been working
That's
on
right.
it, though. We made some changes.
The survey was done in 2018. That survey, by the way, is Tim did a wonderful job of pulling together all the data, and that's on your website page.
Yeah, and all those planning board articles were pulled off of what people answered the survey for.
Right.
They get to the voting booth and everything changes. But that's okay.
All right, next.
Why don't you just take this job instead?
I didn't have my piano phone.
Member comments? Does anybody have anything else to talk about? Rich?
No, we're done.
Terry?
We're all talked up.
Okay.
No, thank you.
Awesome.
No, sir.
You have
Not a
any
word.
Not a word.
Meeting adjourned.
Steve's going to wonder where you've been.
At
Amen.
8:41.
I hope you're going to edit this whole thing.
Oh no, I just listened to you at double speed. That's how
Okay, Shorty.
It's all on fast forward.
Can we all just make sure that we cheer on the Yukon Huskies tonight?
Oh.
Search for their back-to-back